Part 45. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xianglang Guo. Chapter 441. Just when Li Anping and Chaos Tide finished their conversation. On a planet countless light-years away from Earth, hundreds of huge space battleships surrounded the entire planet. They continuously released colorful flames toward the surface of the planet, causing waves of huge explosions. On the surface, countless armored vehicles, interstellar infantry, and space mechas, with the support of the battleship's guns, launched rounds of attacks against the enemy. And their enemies were overwhelming alien creatures that looked like insects. Insects as big as a bull's head, crawling on all fours like hunting dogs, swarmed in. Every second, thousands of their companions were torn to pieces by shells, but soon more insects stepped on the bodies of their companions and rushed towards the human soldiers, completely drowning them. A truck-sized beetle drilled out from the ground, directly overturned the human chariot, and crushed the surrounding infantry into meat sauce. But he was immediately blasted into pieces by the artillery fire from the outer space spaceship. But then more than a dozen giant beetles came out from nearby. Their hard shells made ordinary beams and particle weapons completely ineffective against them, but the plasma flames ejected from their mouths could easily melt the armor of tanks and interstellar infantry. Just when this human army was about to be destroyed. In the sky, hundreds of fighter planes sent by humans broke through the air, and the intensive carpet bombing instantly covered the entire land. The high temperature directly turned the surface into a crystallized state, and the Zerg that originally covered the entire ground disappeared in this round of bombing. This time, at least more than 1 million were destroyed at once. Don't relax, let's go to Area 23 for support. The bunker there has been surrounded by more than 20 million hound bugs. Damn, it's a group of white dragons. The whole sky was suddenly covered by countless shadows, and thousands of white monsters with 4 wings and caterpillar-like bodies surrounded the fighter group. They ejected thousands of parasites from the mouthparts at the bottom of their bodies. These parasites have sharp shells and can release deadly toxins and radioactive substances, which can easily pierce the armor of fighters and destroy their engines. With just one salvo, more than 80% of the fighters were directly destroyed. Go. 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 Use ground mode, you can't fight them in the air. Escape to the tunnels dug by armored beetles. In a large area of flames, the only 5 fighters crashed into the ground. They deformed during the fall and all turned into mecha warriors more than 2 meters tall, and then drilled into the tunnels dug by the bugs. Countless white dragons sprayed parasites in the sky to chase them. But in the end, 3 mechas still drilled into the surface. These creatures called white dragons obviously couldn't chase creatures below the surface, so they could only roar and then rush to another battlefield. "They're gone," the pilot in the mecha said, "it's too dangerous underground. Let's go back quickly." "No," another person said, "the white dragon's compound eyes can observe scenes tens of kilometers away. Once they find us, it will be bad. The underground space here has been cleaned with high-energy explosives. There should be no bugs. Let's go west along the tunnel for 20 kilometers and find a way to get back to the mothership. Damn, I really want to use the Star Destroyer to burn these bugs to death at once. It's useless. Simple high temperature or vacuum environment can't kill them completely. It will only cause countless meteorites to carry them and spread out. We must find the Queen to end this war." The 3 of them walked along the tunnel in silence. They were pessimistic about the outcome of this war. These Zergs who came from nowhere defeated humans as soon as they appeared. In just 50 cosmic years, the overwhelming Zergs have covered hundreds of planets within tens of thousands of light years. The ground forces of the coalition have no advantage in facing these endless bugs. The only time a Star Destroyer was used to directly destroy an entire planet. But it caused a bigger disaster. Those bugs disguised as meteorites spread in all directions, and the existing human detectors had no effect on them. The victory of a planet led to the destruction of more than 10 resource stars. From then on, the human fleet began to take steady steps and kill the bugs one planet at a time. But even with the support of space battleships, the ground forces were still no match for the bugs. Even after discovering human tactics, a kind of bug that could spray photon streams from its tail appeared in the swarm, and the interstellar fleet had lost tens of thousands of warships for this. In the next 2 hours, the three drove the mechas in the underground passages, killing small groups of bugs from time to time. Just when they were about to reach their destination, a series of violent vibrations came from all directions. "It's a swarm. Run!" The three mechas rushed to the ground at the same time, but the last mecha, when his upper body just drilled out, 4 or 5 tentacles had broken out from the ground and directly wrapped around his body. Blue electric light was released from the tentacles, and the entire mecha was dragged back into the ground without any resistance. Damn it! With a curse, the remaining 2 pilots had completed the transformation, turned into fighter planes, and rushed into the sky, but before they flew 100 meters, a photon stream had pierced the sky directly, turning a mecha-transformed fighter into a huge fireball. The last person roared, and all the small missiles in the fuselage, hundreds of them shot out from his wings, drowning the hound bugs around the ground. When he wanted to attack again, another photon stream pierced his left wing. This time, the photon stream seemed to deliberately control the power, and only a small hole was broken in the left wing of his fighter. The fighter had to transform into a mecha again and make an emergency landing on the ground. Just after completing the emergency landing, seeing the hound bugs swarming around, the driver roared and controlled the high-energy particle gun in his hand to start fighting back. Unfortunately, the missiles and explosives he carried had been used up in the previous bombing and battle. The only high-energy particle gun had exhausted its energy after killing more than 500 hound bugs. Pulling out the high-frequency dagger on the side of the mecha's leg, Reinhardt's heart was already filled with despair. "Are I going to die here?" Just when he thought he was going to die, the swarm stopped around the mecha, and in Reinhardt's puzzled eyes, a giant worm with a height of more than 5 meters and a body length of more than 12 meters had grabbed the mecha and dragged Reinhardt away. What do they want to do? Seeing that the swarm had no intention of killing him, Reinhardt hurriedly turned on the communicator, but found that he could not contact the mothership at all. Did they block my signal? Just as Reinhardt was confused and nervous, the swarm escorted the mecha deep underground, into a huge cave. Several houndworms climbed onto the mecha and bit open the door of the cockpit. Under their pushing and dragging, Reinhardt had to leave the mecha and follow them to continue walking into the depths of the cave. After passing through a long corridor of several kilometers, Reinhardt looked at the scene in front of him in shock. Tens of thousands of houndworms appeared in front of him, and in the center of them were 12 black worms standing still like rocks. This worm, named Tyrant by the human military, is the strongest Zerg army known to humans. Not only can they break through the atmosphere and fight in space, they even defeated the ace mecha troops of the coalition in several human-insect battles, indirectly causing the defeat of the coalition. Reinhardt never thought that he would see the super dangerous life form with his own eyes, even in this bare-handed situation. But if the appearance of the tyrant only shocked Reinhardt, then the huge worm that appeared among the 12 tyrants. The group of crawling like a meat mountain almost stopped Reinhardt's heart. Being able to get the protection of the tyrant and hide so deep underground. Could this be the Zerg King Worm guessed by the human staff? In Reinhardt's desperate eyes, the King Worm opened his mouth. More than 10 tentacles stretched out directly towards Reinhardt, dragging him over. "Little bug, stop. You already know the information in this human's mind. Call your master, I have something to talk to her." But before the king insect took the next step, a sudden voice suddenly came out of Reinhardt's mouth, frightening the king insect and shaking directly, and threw Reinhardt to the ground. "Chaos Tide, you pervert, villain, the first madman in the multiverse, why are you here, The king insect's body emitted a crisp childish voice, but looking at Reinhardt, who was floating in the air with confused eyes and bursts of green light, he couldn't help but tremble constantly. "Oh, it seems that the last game has left you with some trauma." Reinhardt still seemed to be unconscious, but the voice of Chaos Tide kept coming out of his mouth, "As long as there is chaos, there is me. Do I need to explain this?" With a cold snort, rays of light shot out from the eyes of the king worm. The next moment, a cold female voice came out, "Ching, if what you say next does not arouse my interest, I will directly drag you out of the chaos sea and put you in an unexploded singularity to let you know what pain is." The Chaos Tide smiled awkwardly and said, "I know that your power is too strong. Just a consciousness call will cause the possessed king worm to temporarily lose some of its abilities. But I came here because I found a warrior who can help you and Huang attack the white universe." Oh. Hearing that his words had aroused the other party's interest, Chaos Tide continued, "It won't be long before he kills an 8th level warrior of the evil god clan. I think this record is enough to join the vanguard of you and the Yellow Organization. Go on." Chaos Tide smiled and said, "But he is a native of this universe. If you want him to work for you willingly, you might as well give this universe to him. Anyway, I see that you only sent a king insect to attack here. This war is just your after-dinner game, right? Giving up a boring game and getting a powerful warrior is a very cost-effective plan." Hearing this, the other party snorted coldly, "You think you can convince me, so you talk to me through the king insect. Even if I don't agree, the war in this universe will be delayed because of the weakening of the king insect? Hee, I think that the human space forces will relax their vigilance against your pets because of their successive victories and fall into internal strife again. In this way, even if you disagree with this plan, after the king insect recovers, it will be easier to conquer this universe." Humph, unnecessary conspiracy and tricks. The sea of insects does not need to use brains, just use absolute numbers to overwhelm everything. Numbers are the key to victory or defeat. Yeah, Chaos Tide nodded perfunctorily and asked again, "Then do you agree? Within one stellar cycle of this planet, bring the warrior you mentioned to see me. During this period, I will stop invading this universe." "A wise choice," Chaos Tide added, "but I came to see you through this human for one more thing. How about letting me control this human body to kill this king insect? If you want to attack this universe, just send a few hundred king insects next time." "Ching, don't push your luck." The king insect's body trembled, and it was obvious that the other party was a little angry about what Chaos Tide said. "I know humans well. Once they find that the Zerg has been destroyed, the loose alliance will immediately collapse. The next time your army comes to this universe again, the war will become hopelessly disadvantageous for them. And don't you think the war between Zerg and humans has no beauty? Only the war between humans and humans, the kind of spiritual madness, hypocrisy, and cunning can make people feel excited, which is much more fun than you, the Zerg who don't even have self-awareness. Chaos Tide, you want me to stop this game, but you started your own game on your own initiative. Has anyone ever said that you are a pervert among perverts?" Chaos Tide said seriously, "No, I'm just a gentleman who loves art." The next moment, in the crisp screams of the king bug, whose combat power is comparable to Seagram or even Dionysus, was torn into pieces by Reinhardt, who was controlled by the Chaos Tide, with his hands, and the purple-red blood dyed Reinhardt into a bloody man. At the moment when the king worm died, the swarms on hundreds of planets immediately stopped, as if they had lost consciousness, and were reduced to ashes by human artillery fire without any resistance. The bodies of Reinhardt and the king worm were also discovered by the human coalition a few hours later. He will become a superhero of countless star clusters, known as the strongest man in the universe, and supported by countless humans. Looking at Reinhardt lying on the ground, Chaos Tide smiled slightly, and he stretched out a finger to point at the other's brain. A consciousness wrapped around the coordinates of the sun and the earth, and turned into a memory stored in Reinhardt's mind. He, this is more interesting. The next moment, accompanied by a low laugh, only Reinhardt fell to the ground covered in blood, and around him, there were countless swarms of worms standing still in place. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature. The novel is better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Seong-Lang Go. Chapter 442. The boundless sea of insects descended from the sky. Not only the earth, the sky, but even the atmosphere was engulfed by dense swarms of insects. From the lowest level houndworms, armored worms, to white dragons, tyrants, and many more, Reinhardt didn't even look at the insects. Some of them can create space barriers and pass through wormholes, some are huge and become biological warships in the universe, and some have infinite power and can even push planets. The terrifying swarms of insects devoured one planet after another. After devouring everything on the planet, they would detonate the entire planet. Countless insects scattered like meteorites towards the surrounding space, just like viruses infecting other planets. Human space battleships are so vulnerable in front of the number of these insect swarms. Whether it is graviton cannons, antimatter cannons, or black hole cannons, the number of insects killed by humans is far less than the number generated by the other side every day. Even powerful weapons are completely overwhelmed by this terrifying number. Countless planets have been destroyed, and human civilization has fallen into a great crisis. Just when the sea of insects was about to submerge the entire universe, Reinhardt on the bed woke up suddenly. He looked at the white ceiling and the 4-tube on his arm. A nightmare. Then Reinhardt slowly remembered that he was clearly caught in front of the queen worm. Why did he survive? Was he rescued by other troops? At this time, countless people rushed into the ward, including doctors, nurses, officials, and reporters. Until a few hours later, Reinhardt's mind was still in chaos. The nightmare was over, the war was won, and the insect plague that had plagued the Silver Shadow Empire for more than 50 universe years was finally solved, and the pace of the Empire's expansion accelerated again. In the years to come, countless weak civilizations will be destroyed and conquered. And Reinhardt, who killed the Zerg Queen, became the greatest hero, and led the fleet to occupy several planets near the border of the Empire within a few months, and incorporated them into the Empire's territory. But the nightmare about the Zerg and the inexplicable death of the Queen Worm in his hands always filled Reinhardt's mind. Even though he was promoted to a fleet commander, he still couldn't forget the nightmare. Not only the nightmare, but also a strange coordinate filled his mind. It was a planet thousands of light years away from the Silver Shadow Empire. Even with the fastest spacecraft in the Empire, it would take 5 to 10 years to arrive by means of continuous jumps. The crew must use the hibernation chamber to survive this long journey. There is no other way. The universe is too big. Without building a stargate in advance, the first time to reach a distant place outside the Empire, you can only rely on the jump engine and the method of crossing the wormhole to fly slowly at superluminal speed. The time is often calculated in years. The Zerg thing is never so simple to end. Reinhardt didn't know why. But he always believed in this in his heart. Maybe the answer is on that distant planet. A few months later, one of the Empire's newest space battleships was sent to a distant solar system, carrying the order of the Empire's hero Reinhardt. Go to explore the wild world far away from the Empire's borders. Sir, do we have the right to colonize? I mean, if we encounter a local indigenous civilization, can we do the same as other fleets? Yes. According to the Empire's practice, first inform the committee, then conquer them. As a conqueror, you can enjoy 3% of the income of the entire planet in the first 10 years. Remember, for different civilizations, there are only enemies in the universe, no friends. On the other side, Li Anping sat alone in the study after finishing his conversation with the Chaos Tide. The power of the demon god is indeed a huge threat, especially for the Earth civilization. While he was sitting in the room, countless nano-worms in every corner of the Earth were launched, speeding up the construction of several other super weapons on the Earth. But it's not enough. The power of the demon god is definitely not something that the resources of a planet can resist. Even if I am here, the development of civilization still takes too long. On the contrary, I should improve my own strength first, which will be faster. But the speed of releasing power has reached a limit after 8 months, it can reach 4.29 billion times the current speed. At the same time, Li Anping kept reviewing the scanned data about the chaos tide and Seagram's vague memory about the demon god level, and gradually combined the relevant parts. Compared with the intelligence he brought and his proposal, the information of the 9th level demon god is the most important for Li Anping. Based on the comparison of the two data, Li Anping guessed that the so-called demon god level, like him, can grow unlimitedly in strength, and because of the almost unlimited lifespan, each of them has accumulated incredible power. Secondly, the direction of evolution and the nature of the power mastered by each person are different. For example, the ability of Black is to devour, and to enhance his own power by eating humans. Gray has a huge volume and evolves the entire world by himself. As for the so-called King of the Red River, Li Anping has not seen him yet, but according to the memory of the evil gods in Seagram's mind, he should still have the spirit of anger and a super strong body. This is a race that evolves through fighting and anger. As for the chaos tide, Li Anping looked at the disk of the palm worm. In addition to the information about the great dark sky and the 8th level warriors of the evil gods, there was also information about a so-called gift. Li Anping, this is my wedding gift to you. After this sentence, there was an unprecedented huge map, a map of the White Land. The amount of data is hundreds of times larger than that of 10 imperial libraries combined. The size of the entire White Land is far beyond the range that humans can detect, and this number is still growing every day. Just as Li Anping was quietly reading the map of the White Land, a black shadow slowly sneaked towards Li Anping's location in the palace. Shadow was like a chameleon, constantly changing himself to the color of the surrounding environment. On his way forward, whether intentionally or unintentionally, various cameras, detectors, and even patrolling guards avoided his way forward, allowing him to reach the door of Li Anping's study unimpeded. To be continued, please search for Ocean literature, the novels are better and updated faster. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiong Lango. Chapter 443. Li Anping sat quietly at his desk, the data and information of the demons constantly lingering in his mind. On the map of the White Land, in addition to the information of various terrains and populations, there are also some simple information about the demon level. Li Anping gradually integrated all the information with his amazing computing power, and the mysterious 9th energy level did not seem to be completely unpredictable at this moment. Omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence are the ultimate. This is also the ultimate realm pursued by all the 12 demons, whether the 5 who were expelled or the 7 who remain on the White Continent. If the power and knowledge of the demons of the 9th energy level are progressing towards infinity every minute and every second, and their thoughts or bodies can cross countless spaces and times, then it means that their existence is infinitely approaching the ultimate, but it can never reach the ultimate. No matter how their power grows, whether it is 10 times, 10,000 times, or 10 to the 1000th power, even if it is a zero that the entire universe cannot fill, even if mathematics cannot accurately calculate, it is not infinite in the true sense after all. Knowledge and the ability to cross dimensions are also like this. So the ultimate goal pursued by the demons is to truly pursue the infinite with the finite, and become the ultimate state of being truly omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. No, Li Anping thought of the information about red, gray, and black again. Not every demon can grow infinitely in the three abilities of power, knowledge, and dimension. The king of the Red River is obviously more inclined to the infinite growth of power. In this way, if power, knowledge, and dimension represent the three indicators and three levels of the ninth energy level, the king of the Red River who has broken through the power level is obviously the weakest among the 12 demons, while the demons who have broken through the power level, knowledge level, and dimension level at the same time are infinitely close to the ultimate and are the strongest. Thinking of this, the annoying smile of Chaos Tide appeared in Li Anping's mind again. How many levels has this guy broken through? Then Li Anping thought of himself again. Reaching the third stage of quantum computing in the power system he created, his knowledge and power have been able to grow infinitely. Obviously, in the demon god level, it is equivalent to a demon god who has broken through the power barrier and the knowledge barrier. However, because his breakthrough time was too short, although his knowledge and power are growing every day with infinite computing power, but the amount accumulated may still not be as good as the Red River King who has only broken through one level. If you want to surpass those demon gods who have existed for who knows how many years, it is obviously far from enough to rely on the current third stage of quantum computing. Thinking of this, Li Anping once again conceived the fourth stage of his power system, quantum immortality, cosmic tree, and superstring life. If you can enter the fourth stage, although you may not be able to reach the ultimate, but you can definitely break through the dimension barrier. In that case, even if you fight against the demon god, Li Anping will not have too many concerns. However, Li Anping still can't decide which of the three routes to choose. Among them, quantum immortality is the fastest and simplest one to achieve. But there will also be side effects. The future of superstring life is broader and requires huge accumulation. According to Li Anping's estimation, it may take 8 to 10 years. Compared with the current threat of the demon god. Obviously, time is a little tight. After thinking for a while, Li Anping's eyes suddenly looked at the door of the study, and saw that the door opened automatically as his eyes tilted. A slender black figure came into his sight. Li Anping knew without looking that it was Xia Yunyuan. Do you know what the consequences will be if you break into the palace casually and get caught? Li Anping knew it as early as when Xia Yunyuan planned to enter the palace. He interfered with the changes in the detectors, cameras, and even the patrol routes of the guards along the way. Hearing what Li Anping said, Xia Yunyuan pursed her lips and said nothing. Then she saw the black shell of her skin flipping. The shell that was originally worn as a battle suit has become tight and attached to the skin. From a distance, it looks like a black tights. Even if it is not transparent, it exposes all the curves. Tight hips, slender waist, full chest, and even 2 protrusions can be seen. The tightly wrapped leather jacket even shows the outline of the lower body. Looking at the thrilling girl's body in front of him, Li Anping's heart was slightly disturbed. But Xia Yunyuan blushed and her heart beat fast when she showed herself like this. Seeing that Li Anping didn't say anything, she walked to him step by step, hugged Li Anping's waist, and pressed the 2 amazing elasticities on her chest against Li Anping's chest. Brother Li, Xia Yunyuan said softly, I know you are getting married, but at least tonight, can I accompany you? Li Anping didn't know what to say. He felt that it was not moral to do so, and he felt that directly rejecting Xia Yunyuan would make the other party too sad. He can monitor the world at all times, so he naturally knows Xia Yunyuan's thoughts and behaviors in daily life. But before today, he really didn't expect Xia Yunyuan to be so bold. But Xia Yunyuan didn't wait for Li Anping's answer. She looked at Li Anping strangely, but found that he just looked at her straight. Facing Li Anping, who was absent-minded, Xia Yunyuan thought that he had acquiesced. When Li Anping came back to his senses, Xia Yunyuan was already squatting in front of him, his whole head moving up and down. Feeling the stimulation and smooth feeling coming from his lower body, Li Anping didn't know what to do. Obviously, pushing Xia Yunyuan away now and telling the other person that he was just distracted just now would completely make the other person unable to get off the stage. Infinite computing power is of no use in front of this simple multiple-choice question. Just as Li Anping was thinking about this problem, Xia Yunyun suddenly raised her head, and a bright silk thread extended from the corner of her mouth to Li Anping's lower body. She blushed and said, "I heard about Claudia and practiced it specially. Do you like it?" The next moment, her body was picked up by Li Anping and thrown onto the desk. Li Anping's physical fitness 10 times normal was fully displayed at this moment. And Xia Yunyun also controlled all the black liquid on his body to be withdrawn into his body. After several years of training, the originally young girl's breasts have become sexy and enchanting, especially the pair of beautiful legs that have been exercised all year round, which are even more round and strong. Li Anping held Xia Yunyun's face and kissed it. Xia Yunyun struggled instinctively at first, but soon her whole brain was filled with the warm manly breath, and she couldn't help but spit out her fragrant tongue and let Li Anping taste it. Li Anping tasted Xia Yunyun's sweet liquid, held the opponent's buttocks with his left hand and pinched it a few times, then roughly grabbed the opponent's chest with his right hand, rubbing the small protrusion with his palm. Xia Yunyun's whole body was trembling slightly, and the combat power that was usually enough to destroy cities and villages seemed to have disappeared at this moment. She lay limply on the desk, feeling her chest getting hotter and hotter from being touched. She suddenly asked worriedly, "Is it too young?" Li Anping didn't immediately understand why the other party had such worries. The small bamboo shoots on Xia Yunyun's chest stood proudly, although they were not particularly plump. But the gentleness held in one hand has its own allure. Holding the soft ball in his hand, Li Anping immediately thought of Claudia. Xia Yunyun obviously compared himself with Claudia. Compared with the Ice Castle Saint Queen, Xia Yunyun's breasts were obviously smaller. A piece of it? He smiled and said, "Touch it often can promote blood circulation and increase the secretion of estrogen in the body, and it will get bigger." Xia Yunyun's face turned red. He had kissed Li Anping again, completely lost in the other person's hot breath. The next second, the two were completely entangled. By the next morning, the battlefield between the two had moved to Li Anping's bedroom. Xia Yunyun curled up in Li Anping's arms like a kitten. He hugged the other person's body with his hands, and a pair of beautiful breasts on his chest pressed against Li Anping's side. Last night, the fighting was too fierce. Although Li Anping's normal state only modulates 10 times the physical fitness of ordinary people, his physical strength is almost endless. Xia Yunyun exercises all the year round. In the case of fighting, she obviously has strong physical fitness, plus she is very courageous to begin with. They sneaked into the palace again, and it was the days before Li Anping got married. He behaved even more wildly and kept catering to Li Anping. Xia Yunyun felt the hardness coming from her lower body, her eyebrows trembled, she opened her big eyes and looked at Li Anping in front of her, bit her lip and said, "Again." Li Anping touched Xia Yunyun's head and said, "Forget it, you are almost swollen." "But I'm so unwilling to do this." Xia Yunyun rubbed Li Anping's chest a few more times, and the bulge gave Li Anping a smooth and exciting feeling. Xia Yunyun suddenly laughed, "Sister Anna and the others will suffer a lot in the future." The two said a few more words, and Xia Yunyun felt as if her whole body melted into Li Anping's arms, and finally fell asleep. In the center of Tianjing's defense array, the doctor was looking at the information in front of him seriously. At this moment, there was a change of light and shadow behind him, and with the cooperation of countless nanobugs in the air, a clear image of Li Anping appeared behind the doctor. The doctor didn't seem surprised at all and asked directly, "Your Majesty, are you here to see the results?" "Doctor, you seem to be a little bold, and you dare to use your plan to plot against me." Li Anping's cold words didn't seem to affect the doctor at all. He chuckled and said, "Your Majesty, every move made by Miss Ya comes from her original intention. I have not affected her at all. Influence is everywhere. Television, newspapers, news, magazines, novels, all kinds of information that humans come into contact with every day can affect human beings' own concepts and judgments. Although you did not directly tell Xia Yunyun to do this, you controlled her by controlling her. All kinds of information around her unconsciously affected her judgment. But Your Majesty, don't you know everything about the whole process of what I did? The doctor has been helping Li Anping build a spiritual network and a mysterious network. Naturally, he knows about the nano-worms that are everywhere on the earth. He smiled. If Your Majesty wants to stop it, my words can stop me at any second. If His Majesty does not want anyone to enter the palace, then no one can enter the palace. Seeing that Li Anping didn't speak, seemingly acquiescing to his own judgment, the doctor's tone became more confident. Your Majesty, you already know everything about my judgment and findings. Since you transformed the entire Earth, your biological behavior has been continuously reduced. All psychological tests show that your personality is gradually disappearing. When this human sensibility completely collapses, I am afraid you will completely become a kind of human being. An absolutely rational being that loses all human emotions. You have obviously discovered this and want to stop him, so in the past few months, you have been trying to use various biological behaviors to stimulate yourself and slow down the disappearance of your personality. Although I have not yet found out the reason for your disappearance, Your Majesty, I have discovered one thing, that is, there is one ultimate act of human existence that you have not yet attempted. The doctor said slowly, reproduce. Li Anping sighed, reproduce. Seeing Li Anping and himself speaking in unison, the doctor became even more excited. Yes, reproduction, this is the ultimate behavior of all living things, engraved in their genes, their instincts. It is they who spread their own lives, themselves the only means of existence. Over the past thousands of years, no matter how society changes, human beings will always revolve around these two words, have more and better partners, and pass on their genes. This is human nature. It is also the instinct of all weak life to maintain the species. After hearing what the doctor said, Li Anping said calmly, do you know that if yesterday's stimulation had no effect, you would be dead now? The doctor bowed and said respectfully, Your Majesty, you are the greatest being and the most dazzling miracle in the entire multiverse. It is obviously my honor to sacrifice for Your Majesty. The act of reproduction does have the effect of delaying the collapse of my personality. It stimulates the instinct in my human genes under normal conditions and affects me under normal conditions. Although this incident did not solve the problem itself, after this night, it changed some of my ideas. Li Anping said calmly, Doctor, have you ever heard of the suffering of all living beings? The suffering of all living beings, the doctor chewed the four words carefully, but he didn't know what Li Anping meant specifically. I have already made a decision about the next path, Li Anping said expressionlessly. The strategy regarding the earth will also need to be slightly changed. The doctor's body was shaken, and he knew that the entire earth would once again undergo huge changes due to Li Anping's decision. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature. The novels will be better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xianglang Go. Chapter 444. Looking at the doctor in front of him, Li Anping suddenly smiled mysteriously. It's a small punishment for you, let you see the world I see. The next moment, without giving the doctor time to react or dodge, Li Anping had already pointed a finger at the doctor's forehead. Boom! The doctor felt that his brain seemed to explode in an instant. Countless information was forced into his brain, and countless pictures kept flowing in front of him. All kinds of life kept passing through his mind, all kinds of people, all kinds of ideas, all kinds of desires. Many ideas and desires themselves are contradictory, which made the doctor feel that his head was about to explode. The mental force field and nano-worms that spread to the global range let Li Anping know all the situations of the entire Earth. And not only the external situation, but even everyone's spiritual world has no secrets in front of Li Anping. The joys, sorrows, Anger and happiness of human beings are no longer secrets in front of Li Enping. So countless behaviors, lives, and ideas kept flashing back in his mind. If Li Enping is a supercomputer, then he is just processing this huge amount of mental data. But Li Enping is a human being, a person with human emotions, and in order to manage the entire Earth and the entire human society, he constantly receives, reads, and experiences these mental data, as if he is living the life of every human being at the same time. There was such a story before, in which the immortal let the mortal sleep and start dreaming in order to guide him to become an immortal. In the dream, the mortal experienced dozens or hundreds of reincarnations. After waking up from the dream, the mortal saw through the world and decided to seek the truth. If dozens or hundreds of reincarnations are like this, then what will happen if you receive the mental data of billions of people on the earth at the same time? Seeing through the world or being tired of the stupidity of mortals is almost inevitable. Even with Li Enping's iron will, he can only delay this process and prevent the process of personality collapse by experiencing his own human behavior. It's like a piece of white paper that has been scribbled on, and a darker color covers up other colors. But this process can only be delayed, but not stopped. Once the path to godhood has been taken, there is no turning back. Divinity gradually grows, while humanity gradually disappears. Li Enping knows that if this continues, his consciousness algorithm will change completely one day. He will truly become an artificial intelligence-like existence. At that time, he will not do things based on joy, but make decisions purely for efficiency. Then it is also necessary to abandon humanity and become quantum immortality of non-conscious existence, which is the only fourth stage route that Li Enping will choose after deification. His body and consciousness will disappear from the human world, purely becoming a state of probability superposition, and after all the possibilities are superimposed together, he will exist in any corner of the universe at the same time. If you want to collapse, you must observe him. But if you want to observe him, you must decrypt Li Enping's consciousness algorithm at that time, which is almost impossible. He will become the ghost of the entire universe, and exist with every particle in the universe. Freely modify all cosmic constants and curl up on the timeline of the entire universe. And because all possibilities are superimposed, every choice in the universe will be covered by him, and he will split with the division of the world. Communicate with all parallel worlds. Power, knowledge, and the space and time. Every minute and every second is growing crazily. He will be infinitely close to the ultimate. But as long as the universe is still running and the timeline is flowing, there will always be new possibilities. Simply reaching the level of quantum immortality cannot achieve true infinity. Quantum immortality is actually the easiest way for Li Enping to achieve the path of the devil, but his biggest shortcoming, abandoning human sensibility, is something Li Enping cannot accept. Because he knows that after he abandons human sensibility, the entire earth will become an insignificant existence for him at that time, and he will never care about the life and death of humans. It can be said that even Li Enping can hardly calculate what a purely rational self will do, but it is certain that he will definitely do many things that are beneficial to himself, but now Li Enping hates. The difference between the cosmic tree and quantum immortality is that he communicates the power of multiple universes through the gate. Quantum immortality is a different world in the same universe, while the cosmic tree communicates different universes. As for the final superstring life, it can distort the concept of a lower dimension by ascending the dimension to pursue all possibilities. Just like humans in the third dimension, they can create a Mobius strip by curling a two-dimensional paper strip, allowing ants to walk on it continuously, which is equivalent to constantly disappearing and appearing in the two-dimensional world. To reach the eighth dimension, you can distort the seventh dimension to reach different time points in different timelines of the universe, that is, the infinite possibility of multiple parallel worlds. And to reach the 10th dimension, you can distort the 9th dimension to reach different universes and different time points in different timelines, that is, infinite infinity. But this is a process that requires continuous accumulation of power and knowledge, unlike quantum immortality, which can grow with the beating of the universe. To reach the 10th dimension, that is almost the ultimate, but even Li Anping now cannot calculate how to reach the 10th dimension. At this moment, the doctor opened his tired eyes. He looked like he had lost water. He said dejectedly, "How big is the range of this information?" Li Anping glanced at him and said, "1 day's mental data within 50,000 square meters." The doctor exhaled deeply and said, "I feel like I have experienced the lives of various people. I have become confused about my self-cognition. It seems that I have to find a psychologist." "It will be fine after a good sleep," Li Anping said, and the whole person disappeared. In the palace, he had sat up in the bedroom. "It's time to release humans from the bottle. Wait until this wedding is over, so that it can greatly reduce the speed of my personality collapse. But the stimulation of human behavior can continue, and it is still very effective." At this moment, Claudia walked into the room and saw the white and tender body lying on the messy bed, and the naked Li Anping. Claudia's head was buzzing and exploded. Her face flushed and she looked at the scene in front of her at a loss. She came to ask Li Anping to go to the wedding site together. She had spoken to Li Anping in advance and knew that he was in the bedroom of the palace. But she didn't expect to see such a scene. Pointing at the two people on the bed, she said at a loss, You. The next moment, with a wave of Li Anping's hand, Claudia's clothes were stripped off, and she screamed beautifully and was summoned to the bed by Li Anping. A few minutes later, the two bodies were entangled, and Claudia also reacted. Isn't this the good opportunity she has been waiting for? But she didn't expect that Xia Yunyun got there first. At that moment, she immediately hugged Li Anping tightly, and her breasts were tightly pressed against Li Anping's chest, wildly catering to each other. However, although her figure is more plump than Xia Yunyun, her physical fitness is not as strong as that of the ability user. 10 minutes later, she was already sweating all over, her skin was slippery, and she lay on the bed. Then she screamed, her legs twitched, and she was completely immersed in infinite pleasure. Xia Yunyun beside her trembled her eyelashes, her body was stiff and motionless. However, Li Anping reached out and grabbed her who was pretending to sleep, and joined the battle. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature, the novels are better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xionglang Guo. Chapter 445. The day before Li Anping got married. Tianjing, inside a base station of a mental force field near the palace. The screen in front of Li Anping was constantly jumping rapidly, and at the same time, 2 green lights were released from his eyes, constantly inputting various parameters into the mental network. With his current position as the center, the mental network covered within 1,000 meters around him was constantly adjusting its parameters, turning the entire space within 1,000 meters into a test field. Because of some modifications to the Xianwang plan, Li Anping had to adjust some properties of the mental network again. Beside him, there was a clone of the Queen of Heaven soaked in liquid. The clone of the Queen of Heaven floated in the glass container and opened his eyes to look in the direction of the data screen. The look in his eyes was exactly the same as Li Anping's. For around the mental network base station, there were flashes of lightning in the air from time to time. That was the feedback of the abnormal nano-worms caused by the parameter adjustment. Just as Li Anping was modulating the mental network according to the new plan, the voice of the doctor came over. Your Majesty, adjusting the spiritual network in this way can indeed slow down the process of deification, but the universe contains multiple worlds. If there are other parallel worlds. Yes, your concerns are correct. Li Anping heard the doctor's report, but he did not stop working. He just continued, parallel worlds have infinite possibilities. When something happens, all possible results will split into new timelines and give birth to parallel worlds. My choice is the same, So there must be a parallel world in the multiverse where I have just completed quantum computing and directly entered the quantum immortality stage. Then what do you think you will do, Doctor? The doctor said in a deep voice. According to your consideration, Your Majesty, he will probably infect all parallel worlds and integrate all the timelines of our universe. You are right, but the universe itself has infinite possibilities. After completing quantum immortality, I will continue to pursue the infinity of the universe, but as long as he has not really reached the ultimate, there must be a universe with the following possibility, that is, a universe that has not been infected by me, who has quantum immortality without choosing quantum immortality. The doctor murmured, in other words, every second, it cannot be every microsecond or nanosecond, there is a new universe born under the possibility of being infected by quantum immortality. Li Anping nodded. I understand that the doctor has understood what he meant. If seconds are used as units, it means that in the first second, the world that Li Anping is in now becomes two kinds. One is a universe infected by quantum immortality, and the next is an intact universe. And in the next second, the intact universe becomes a universe infected by quantum immortality and a new intact universe. Just like the split, as long as Li Anping after quantum immortality has not reached the true ultimate and encompassed the true infinity, then he cannot really cover all parallel worlds, and there must be a world that is always intact in the world that is split every second. As for why the world where Li Anping and the doctor are now in will become the world that has not been swept by quantum immortality, the doctor did not raise this question, because he knew very well that this was because the dimension he was in made him unable to perceive the changes in the timeline, and he could only perceive his current time and space. The premise of raising the above questions is that the doctor is already in such a time and space. For the doctor, from a subjective point of view, he must exist in such a universe that has not been infected by quantum immortality. Only because of this can he maintain his current consciousness, and his existence is 100% for this universe. Just like tracing back the genealogy of mankind, your father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and so on, your ancestors have experienced countless floods and beasts, wars and chaos, hunger and famine, and they have survived from generation to generation like this, and you were born at a very low probability. But if you ask why you are born and survive with such a low probability, it is a meaningless question in itself. Because the premise of your question is your existence itself. So after getting his answer, the doctor did not continue to dwell on this question. He continued, if that's the case, does the ultimate not exist? Li Anping knew why the doctor asked this question. This is because if the ultimate really exists, then all the multiverses and universes are included in that ultimate, and naturally there will be no universe where Li Anping is now. But this situation did not occur, which means that the entire multiverse has not yet given birth to a true ultimate. The ultimate realm is an impossible possibility. I cannot calculate whether it exists or not. Yes, even if Li Anping's current computing power is said to be almost infinite, it is only a claim. Whether it is 2 to the power of 10,000 times or 2 to the power of 10 millionth times, it is just a huge number, not truly infinite. A few minutes later, when the doctor and Li Anping cut off communication, Anna had contacted Li Anping again. Your Majesty, Anna's tone was full of resentment. You had a lot of fun yesterday. Li Anping did not hide the fact that he had a relationship with Xia Yunyun and Claudia, nor did he feel that he needed to hide such a thing. And those servants, guards, and maids could not spread this matter everywhere, just because they did not have the courage to do so. Now Anna, Li Qian, and Xiao Suesu all knew about this matter, just because Claudia showed it off when she checked the wedding venue with them today. Thinking of Claudia's smug look, Anna was almost furious. This kind of thing happened the day before the wedding. It seems that it is still very difficult for a modern woman like her to have multiple women share one husband. Hearing Li Anping's awkward laughter on the phone, Anna said coldly, "We are almost done here, you come quickly, we have to take some wedding photos today." Got it? By the way, Anna asked with some expectation, didn't you say last time that you would come to prepare the diamond ring? Are you ready? Oh, diamond ring, I'm ready, Li Anping answered Anna calmly, and pointed with one hand, and the countless oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and other elements in the air have been constantly changing their structures under his changes, and finally combined together, slowly turning into 4 diamond rings. Well, don't forget to bring it to the wedding tomorrow. After saying this, Anna was silent for a while, and finally did not ask Xia Yunyun's question, as if she had completely ignored this matter, and hung up the call. After the call ended, Li Anping began to continue to combine the 4 diamond rings in his hand. The 4 diamond rings each have different streamlined shapes, and then under Li Anping's adjustment, the types of chemical trace elements were changed, and the different crystal structures of the 4 rings were adjusted. Only to see that under his adjustment, the 4 rings turned pink, light green, black, and white respectively. The 4 diamond rings were transformed in parallel, combining the styles of the world's famous jewelry designers with the preferences of Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, and Claudia. After thinking about it, Li Anping pointed again, and high-temperature gas emerged in the air, and a blue diamond ring slowly emerged. This was prepared for Xia Yunyun. Seeing the 5 beautiful diamond rings, Li Anping nodded with satisfaction. He did not add any special abilities to the rings because it was unnecessary. As long as they are on Earth, the ubiquitous nano-worms and mental networks can reproduce most of the physical phenomena in the universe as long as Li Anping gives them enough authority. But this matter is not urgent. Li Anping will give it to them before the new functions of Xianwang are opened. After all, with him on Earth, humans are not in danger. If there is a danger that even he cannot stop, then others will not have a way to stop it. Putting the ring in his hand away, Li Anping looked at the clone of the queen in the glass container and said lightly, "The rest is up to you." The clone nodded. She herself is also a part of Li Anping. The next moment, Li Anping disappeared in light, leaving only the clone of the queen under his operation, continuing to adjust the coefficient of the entire Xianwang, and conducting tests with the doctor from time to time. After all, the day when Xianwang is completely open is getting closer and closer. As a system that will be closely related to the entire human society, he even has the ability to destroy the entire human society in a single thought. The Xianwang can turn the earth into a kingdom of God or hell, so no matter how carefully Li Anping and the doctor treat the system, it is not excessive. A flash of white light, Li Anping has appeared in the wedding hall. A large group of people immediately came to greet him. Li Anping walked towards the depths of the venue without saying anything. The first person to appear in front of him was Xiao Suesu. Among the 4 people, the least jealous of Li Anping having too many wives may be her and Claudia. After all, one of them is a girl from the 9 royal families of Daxia, and the other is the daughter of the Holy King of Ice Castle. Their families and their fathers are polygamous. And no matter Xiao Suesu or Claudia, their respect and fear for Li Anping must be greater than their love. Xiao Suesu came up and walked in the corridor with Li Anping, nodding to the servants who were bowing around from time to time, and said to Li Anping, "Your Majesty, you yesterday, alas." Xiao Suesu sighed. She didn't know why Li Anping, who usually didn't like women, chose to let other women go to bed before getting married, and 2 at a time. In the face of this situation, basically every woman would be angry. She said helplessly, "Miss Li Qian and Miss Anna are a little angry, you can coax them later." Then Li Anping walked to the side of Li Qian and Anna and coaxed the 2 women separately. Although the 2 were still very unhappy in their hearts, they did not show it in front of so many people. Claudia looked very proud. Although she was still limping, she was holding Li Anping like a koala, as if she didn't want to leave him even for a second. The next day, Li Anping took wedding photos with Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, and Claudia. The 4 women kept changing their dresses and clothes, but fortunately, with the existence of the folding door, the speed of changing the shooting location was very fast. In addition, the four of them had chosen the place where they wanted to take photos with Li Anping in advance, so everything was very fast. After taking photos with Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, and Claudia in bamboo forests, the sea of clouds, snowy mountains, and other places, Li Anping returned to the palace with the four of them and took a photo of the four of them together. Although the whole process took a lot of time, Li Anping did not show any impatience. After all, he was monitoring all places on the earth. While taking photos, he could also do various tasks and handle various times. Even the liberation of his own power did not stop at all. To be continued, please search for Ocean Literature. The novels are better and updated faster. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xionglang Go. Chapter 446. On the day of Li Anping's wedding. When Olivia and Bartok walked out of the room, the whole of Tianjin was shrouded in a festive atmosphere. The entire hotel was wrapped in a layer of red, and even the hotel lobby was hung with Li Anping's head portrait. Everyone's face was filled with an excited smile, which Olivia had never seen on the Mondo continent. In the Mondo continent, even if the king got married or even pardoned the world, ordinary people could not really feel joy and excitement about the wedding itself. Walking in the lobby, Bartok looked at the crowd gathered in the distance and asked curiously, "What are they watching?" "I don't know." Olivia looked at the huge screen in front of the crowd and said, "It should be something like TV news. Let's go up and take a look." Olivia followed behind and shook her head helplessly. Since Bartok came to Earth, it seemed like he had returned to his childhood and became curious about everything here. But Olivia thought about it again. After he came here, he also had a huge change. Thinking that she would return to the backward and primitive Mondo continent in a few days, Olivia felt lost. While thinking about this, the two had squeezed into the crowd and saw the content being broadcast on the TV screen. It was a few hosts talking while broadcasting the content of today's wedding. Today's layout at the main gate of the imperial city was personally directed by the internationally renowned folk artist Tian Ziajun. The white peony symbolizes wealth, and the blue rose symbolizes love and romance, echoing today's festive day. You can see the first parade team has set off from the main gate of the palace. They are the choir from the Code country. "Hey, teacher Wen, we know that His Majesty is using the Daxia wedding ceremony this time, but I don't know which dynasty's ceremony it is." "Oh, the ceremony selected by His Majesty this year is still based on the ceremony at the beginning of this dynasty." Seeing the content on the TV, Olivia felt as expected. She had gotten used to it when she watched TV in her room these 2 days. At least 4 of the 10 channels were discussing weddings. From the clothes of the 4 princesses, wedding dresses, formal wear, wedding customs, ceremonies, dinners, various invited guests, performances, activities, and interviews with the 4 princesses' classmates, friends, and relatives. Even she, who had only been on Earth for a few days from the Domon continent, felt very familiar with this wedding. This is simply unimaginable on the Mondo continent. Even if a king wants to have fun with the people and celebrate with the world, it is impossible for the common people to report their wedding in detail here. Olivia watched for a while and lost her patience. Activities such as performances and parades, with representatives from all over the world, will start at 6 o'clock this morning and last until 10 o'clock in the evening. When the wedding is over, she is not interested in standing here and watching TV for several hours before the wedding officially begins. So Olivia patted Bartok twice and asked him to go with her. Starting tonight, they will go to the auditorium of the palace to participate in the formal wedding ceremony. Before that, they can still move freely. But just as they walked to the gate and hadn't crossed the folding door of the hotel, they were frightened by the scene outside the door. "Why are there so many people?" Bartok looked at the dense crowd outside the door in disbelief. The flag of Daxia was printed on their clothes and faces. Some people even printed Li Anping's face on their faces, chests, and backs. The doorman on the side said, "Excuse me, sir, the route of His Majesty and His Royal Highness's tour of the city today passes by the entrance of our hotel. It is recommended that you use the folding door if you travel. However, this is also a very rare opportunity. At 3:12 p.m., His Majesty will pass by the gate of our hotel, and you too will personally witness the true appearance of His Majesty and the four princesses." Olivia nodded and said nothing. Of course, she knew that the route of Li Anping and the princesses' tour of the city would pass by the entrance of the hotel, but she never expected that there would be so many people gathered here. You know, on ordinary days, because of the popularity of the folding gate, you can't see even half a person on the streets of Tianjin. The scene in front of me is really in stark contrast to the deserted streets of Tianjin I saw in the past 2 days. Although I have heard in the news that this wedding in Tianjin is expected to have more than 8 million tourists from all over the world through the folding gate on the day. But no matter how huge the number is, it is obviously not as shocking as the fact I saw with my own eyes. Shaking her head, Olivia found it difficult to understand the Earthling's admiration for Li Anping. She could only activate the folding gate with Bartok and go to the shopping mall. Today they planned to go to the mall to bring some gifts for their relatives and friends in Mondo continent. I saw the two of them walking towards the folding gate, thinking about the address they were going to, and there was no extra movement. When they stepped into the folding gate, they were covered in blue light and disappeared at the door of the hotel. But after walking around the mall for a few rounds, they had to give up the plan to buy gifts today. Not only was the parade street full, Olivia and Bartok walked through several shopping malls, and almost every one of them was full. Li Anping's wedding caused people from all over the world to rush to Tianjin today through the folding gate. Whether buying clothes, eating, or even going to the toilet, there are long queues. Looking at the crowds in front of her wearing all kinds of clothes for all seasons and with different skin colors, Olivia felt that everyone in the world had come to Tianjin today. This is of course impossible. Most people on the earth still stay far away and take time to watch live broadcasts. Of course, in the Western continent, because of the time difference, if you want to watch, you can only stay up late to watch live broadcasts. However, due to the surge in the number of people in the past few days, many physical stores have indeed made a lot of money. Especially in the catering industry, after all, not everyone will buy things when they come to Tianjin, but eating and drinking are necessary. In particular, some businesses took the opportunity to provide online live broadcast services, which made it easier to attract customers. The huge increase in customer flow put the greatest pressure on the Jiu Center and the police in Tianjin, especially the Jiu Center had to temporarily open 100 spare Jiu halls to slightly relieve the pressure. Looking at the crowded crowd in front of them, Olivia and Bartok were a little helpless. They didn't want to queue up for half a day just to buy something. Finally, I decided to go back to the hotel to watch TV and surf the internet, and then prepare to attend the wedding ceremony that will start in the evening. To be continued, please search for Ocean Literature. The novels are better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xianglang Guo. Chapter 447. Halfway back to the mall's folding gate, Olivia suddenly saw a group of young girls handing out flyers. The main reason these girls handing out flyers caught Olivia's attention was that most of them were blondes and blue-eyed girls, and were obviously not native to Daxia. And all the people who received the flyers from them dodged the flyers they sent as if they were avoiding the plague. Just a few minutes after Olivia saw them, a team of mall security rushed in and wanted to get them out of the mall entrance. The two parties immediately started arguing. The two looked at them curiously, and Bartok even picked up a flyer handed out by the girls from the ground and took a look. Olivia also looked over with curiosity, and saw that it was written that women should respect themselves, oppose polygamy, and oppose Li Anping's behavior of marrying 4 wives at a time. Demand equality between men and women. After a few glances, Bartok smiled, This is a feminist. Olivia curled her lips, boring. After all, in Mondo Continent, polygamy or polyandry are very normal things, which is completely related to the rights held by the parties. In her opinion, whether Li Anping is a man or a woman, with his power, even if there are 100 or 1000 heterosexual partners, it is normal. Olivia said casually, "Let's go, there's nothing to see." "But your majesty is really kind. If this kind of thing happened in the past Mondo Continent, I'm afraid these opponents will not escape the fate of being slaughtered." Bartok nodded and threw the flyer on the ground. On the other side, the girls who distributed flyers had been driven out of the mall by the security guards. That night, Li Anping's wedding officially began, and with the blessings of countless people, he completed the final ceremony with Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, and Claudia. When Li Anping put rings on the 4 people one by one, everyone cheered. The fireworks lit up the night sky of Tianjin. At the same time, under Li Anping's control, countless high-energy charged particle flows filled the skies of major cities around the world, and the high-level atmospheric molecules were stimulated by this, producing auroras that constantly changed into radial and curtain-shaped ones. The sky of the entire Earth turned into a colorful light curtain on this day, and formed the appearance of Li Anping, Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, and Claudia on the atmospheric screen. Olivia in the audience looked at the 4 dazzling princesses on the stage with envy, wishing she could go up and replace each other. In her opinion, becoming Li Anping's wife is equivalent to becoming the wife of God, with endless power and wealth, and being able to stay on earth forever, staying in this place like the God realm and the heaven realm to enjoy life. After the wedding of this day, the entire earth entered the accelerated development mode again. 2 weeks later, the world's first martial arts conference, which had been delayed several times, was officially held. If the various special forces, killers, and athletes that appeared in the ordinary group have opened the eyes of ordinary people, then the ability group really made all humans crazy. Although Li Anping has previously disclosed the existence of people with special abilities, it is still difficult for ordinary people to see the battle scenes of real people with special abilities. And this time, countless people with special abilities fought fiercely to get on the top 10 thrones. In addition, the world's #1 martial arts conference, as a project supported by Li Anping, has received a huge budget and publicity. Starting from the top 32, the live broadcast of each game has become the hottest program on the entire Earth. The venues of the competition range from deserts, seabeds, volcanoes to the moon, Mars, and even an asteroid. Coupled with various incredible and wonderful abilities, all the audiences are very excited. In order to allow ordinary audiences to understand the battle process of many people with special abilities, the live broadcast of the top 32 competitions invited all famous people with special abilities such as Xiao Umei, Lu Feng, and even Jing Guang to explain. This has enabled humans all over the earth to have a detailed understanding of the 6 major abilities, mindfulness, and energy levels. The final battle of the second ability group appeared between Jason and Su Xinying. One of them is a black boxer from the Federation. After entering the Academy City, he made rapid progress and became the first genius of the Academy City after Fang Hejia. Because of the mutant ability called Warcraft Physique, he was called a monster among monsters. Su Xinying, together with several other ability users, secretly received a period of guidance from the Queen version of Li Anping, and the ability hidden in his body was triggered. With the ability of crystal reflection, he successfully fought out from a bunch of Academy top students, biomartial artists, family geniuses, and other strong people. Of course, the 2 of them can fight all the way to the final battle, and the ability users of the 3 major forces of Daxia Dragon Bird, Virtual Numbers, and Human Armed Forces cannot participate in the competition. In short, after more than a month of competition, the 2 finally fought the final battle in the center of the sun, on the ring called the Sun Palace opened by Li Anping himself. This competition venue alone is enough to attract everyone's attention, Not to mention that Li Anping will come to the judge's seat on the day of the final to give awards to the winner. In the end, Jason, who had a more solid foundation, won the game. But it didn't matter to Li Anping, who was the champion. The key was the influence of the world's #1 martial arts competition. Every 4 years, there will be exciting finals in the Sun Palace. And because of Li Anping's vigorous promotion of the first competition, a wave of martial arts has swept across the earth. After all, not everyone is born with abilities, but anyone can learn martial arts. Although practicing secret martial arts may not necessarily develop abilities, it still cannot stop the enthusiasm of a large number of teenagers and young people. In the beach villa in the southern part of the western continent, Xia Yunyun looked at Jason and Su Zinying fighting fiercely on the screen with dissatisfaction, and said gloomily, "If I were there, I would have finished with them both." Li Anping hugged her from behind, one hand touched Xia Yunyun's breasts, and the other hand was placed on Xia Yunyun's slightly bulging belly. Feeling the burning heat coming from her chest, Xia Yunyun smiled and was afraid to hit Li Anping's hand, but she was reluctant to let her go, so she just smiled and said, "Where are you touching?" Li Anping seemed to have nothing happened, and said lightly, "Rest well if you are pregnant, anyway, there will be a chance in 4 years. Yes." Xia Yunyun nodded gently, without the original arrogant look, just a little worried, and said, "How come my belly has become so big in just 2 weeks? I see that other people's belly has not become big in a month." Li Anping looked at Xia Yunyun's belly and showed a smile at the corner of his mouth. "My son, of course, can't be ordinary." "Okay, you see the host is so anxious." Xia Yunyun pointed to the screen and said, "They are about to decide the winner, you should go to the scene." "Yeah." Li Anping nodded, "Come to the palace for dinner tonight." Before he finished speaking, Li Anping had turned into a beam of light and disappeared in the room. With the successful conclusion of the first World #1 Martial Arts Conference, countless parents sent their children to various schools for testing, and those children who were found to have no ability all caught up with the craze of practicing martial arts. According to the research of human historians in the future, countless strong men in the human race were born during this period. A month after the end of the World #1 Martial Arts Conference, the first sublight-speed spacecraft of mankind was officially tested successfully, completing the first living landing on Mars in human history. The entire human race ushered in the interstellar era. And the spacecraft is also constantly undergoing technological changes with the technical support of Li Anping, and a new version of the spacecraft is born almost every week. Especially with the improvement of Li Anping's power, this situation has become more and more obvious. Spacecraft, robots, artificial intelligence. The ubiquitous nano-worms have brought mankind into a stage of rapid progress. Then countless spacecraft were sent to various corners of the solar system, Mars base, Titan base. Various planets began to be covered with human footprints. And because of the government's policy of encouraging childbirth, mankind has also ushered in an era of population explosion. The government provides abundant materials and food, as well as educational resources, so that everyone has no worries when facing the situation of multiple children. And in order to adapt to the distance of the entire solar system, a new version of the folding gate, the space gate, was also created. If the folding gate is a transmission, then the space gate permanently changes the spatial structure of the two places, and creates a channel that will never be damaged through the method of high-dimensional folding. So as long as humans drive a spacecraft to a certain planet and build a space gate locally, they can always travel between the Earth and the new destination at superluminal speed. The transportation within the planet relies on the folding gate, and the transportation outside the planet relies on spaceships and space gates. This has gradually become common sense in the entire human world. As the footprints of human beings slowly spread throughout the solar system, Li Anping also released the functions of Xianwang. The first one was the live broadcast function provided by Xianwang during the world's first martial arts conference. Next, Li Anping chose the game method to let the public accept Xianwang instead of the traditional network. A virtual online game called Martial Arts was born under the development of Li Anping. The content of this game is very simple, that is, a fighting game where you can choose the top 32 players of the martial arts conference to fight. The only difference is that he can rely on Xianwang to directly connect to human consciousness, allowing humans to enter the virtual world and control the bodies of the top 32 contestants like controlling their own bodies. Once the game was launched, it immediately became popular around the world. Next, Li Anping handed over a part of the game development and online interface of Xianwang, allowing more game companies to develop virtual games and launch them through Xianwang. In just 3 months, as human footprints continued to spread to all parts of the solar system, virtual online games became something that everyone had tried and even loved. From the beginning of the leveling guerrilla fighting games and the criticized games, the types of virtual games have become more and more extensive. Li Anping didn't need to do anything at all. Countless applications have developed explosively based on Xianwang. Shopping, performances, meetings, dating, movies, animation, virtual networks or Xianwang have developed at a speed far beyond Li Anping's expectations. Human enthusiasm for the virtual world is really beyond his expectations. 3 months have passed, and on this New Year's Day, every human being is sighing for the changes in the entire Earth. On the night before the New Year, almost every family in Daxia had a reunion dinner. However, other countries, especially those in the Western continent, had a different New Year's Day, so the day remained the same as usual, without any changes. Su Xinying's family, originally poor, no longer had to worry about money. The brand new building, furniture and various electrical appliances were all bought by Su Xinying. In fact, most people in the entire village have left here for the city. After all, the government provides simple housing for free, and even with the existence of Xianwang, life in the city is indeed more exciting and convenient than in the mountain village. However, Su Xinying's parents are more traditional and still miss their hometown where they have lived for many years. At the dinner table, Su Xinying's mother was persuading her son to find a wife quickly. "Xinying, are you going back to the moon tomorrow? I think your army is too strict. Even those who celebrate the New Year only have 1 day off." Su Xinying didn't say anything, she just waved her hand. Under the control of Xianwang, the holographic image on the wall had changed to the news channel. "Dad, Mom, I specially asked for leave today. Let's watch the news together." After saying that, he asked his younger brother and younger sister to exit the virtual space on Xianwang and watch the news together. Seeing Su Xinying's serious look, they were all at a loss and could only watch the news channel together. A few minutes later, Li Anping's appearance appeared on the TV screen. "Hello fellow compatriots. On the moon fortress, indoors with 100 times gravity." Jingguang was lying on the ground, doing push-ups non-stop, sweat spraying from his pores. A female voice came from the communicator in the gravity room. "Lord Jingguang, His Majesty's speech has begun. Do you want to go and see it?" "It's all things we know, what's there to see?" After Jingguang finished saying this, he continued to immerse himself in today's exercise. Jupiter, within the Great Red Spot. In this giant gaseous planet, the violent hurricanes are enough to tear all metal into pieces. But even in this terrible storm, a black shadow stood quietly in the sky. Your Majesty's speech has begun." Yanbei opened his eyes, and a force field centered on him swept away the violent wind around him. He said coldly, "I know. On the White Land, 200 strange native creatures attacked the human base today. They are the original inhabitants of this land. A creature that is similar to a combination of a dog and a wolf, without much intelligence. Since humans began to explore the White Land, native creatures similar to this have often been found. Most of them have extremely strong vitality, and a few can even pose a threat to human armies." Bai Xing pointed out, and tens of thousands of sword energy had torn all the monsters into pieces. The soldiers around him cheered, but he just looked at the endless white land. It's almost time to start. In the palace, Anna, Li Qian, Xiao Suesu, Claudia, and Xia Yunyun were sitting together. Among them, Xia Yunyun's belly was already as big as a 10-month pregnancy, while on the other side, Anna's belly was also slightly bulging. But at this moment, their attention was focused on the 3D screen in front of them, and on Li Anping in the screen. Hello, I am Li Anping. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature for better and faster novels. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xionglang Guo. Chapter 448. Today, I have some unfortunate news to tell you. At this moment, many people on Earth were watching Li Anping on TV. Not only the TV, but also the mobile phone screens, square LEDs, computer screens, and all screens were inserting Li Anping's speech. But this time no one complained, but all listened carefully. The Earth is facing a disaster. In just 5 months, an alien creature called the Devil will come to our universe, our solar system. The screen began to play videos of Grey, Seagram, Vibritzo, and various monsters. These videos were edited together, mainly to highlight their power and cruelty. These demons come from a place called the White Land. As you can see, their favorite food is us humans. We only have 2 choices, either to be eaten or to eat them. This is not a joke. The entire Earth has reached a moment of life and death. Li Anping was silent for a while, as if to let the audience in front of the TV digest this amazing fact. Countless people in front of the TV opened their mouths wide, staring at Li Anping on TV, as if they could not accept the facts Li Anping said for a moment. But the videos of Grey, Seagram, Vibritzo, and the monsters that kept playing in the corner of the TV screen, as well as the weight of the 3 words Li Anping, forced them to accept this unacceptable fact. The demons are very powerful, so if we want to fight them, we have to make ourselves stronger. Whether it's weapons, superpowers, secret martial arts, or magic, I will provide them to you next. And if you want to survive, work hard to make yourself stronger. Whether it's your mind or your body. Li Anping opened his hands, and his words began to exude a strange temptation. We are human beings, we should be the masters of the universe, and we should be the gods of all other creatures. Whether it's extraterrestrial life, alien life, demons, or gods, they can only be trampled under our feet. Operate according to our ideas. Zoos, dissection rooms, nature reserves. These are where they should go. Humans are the masters of all things. My compatriots, I will give all of you the opportunity to gain power, as powerful as God. And what you need to do is to defeat the demons when they appear. Tear them apart, crush them, and devour them. As Li Anping spoke, a gradually boiling emotion spread in the Xianwang. It was just a few words, but all the people in front of the TV screens were excited, as if adrenaline was secreted faster. Fellow countrymen, we are human beings. We are the greatest race in the universe. I want you to spread my will to the end of all time and space, and spread my power to every corner of the universe. The entire universe should revolve for us. Roar. All the people in front of the TV felt a flame burning in their chests. Strong emotions burned everyone's nerves. No matter if they were otakus, rice bugs, or dependents, they all seemed to have become a berserker who dared to fight against heaven and earth. Li Anping slowly closed his eyes. Every cell of his seemed to be able to feel the boiling of all human beings on the earth. This flame-like emotion gathered in his heart, making him feel unprecedented comfort, as if some huge burden had been put down. All kinds of unnecessary contradictions, and evil thoughts were significantly reduced at this moment, and everyone's thoughts became extremely close and extremely simple. The next moment, he had opened his eyes, and the light in his pupils flashed. The newly opened functions of Xianwang had been downloaded to the terminals of every earthling like a waterfall. Then he began to introduce the newly opened functions of Xianwang on TV. From this day on, everyone can use the electronic currency in their own accounts to call the ubiquitous nano-worms and the computing power of 10 quantum intelligent computers in the Daxia base. Through this process, they can realize various physical phenomena that have been stored in Xianwang by Li Anping, that is, various superpowers and magic. However, different levels of superpowers and magic obviously depend on the applicant's authority to see whether they can be called. And the authority of each person is obviously based on his identity, position, and mainly on the importance to the Earth government. There are more than 20 levels in total. And every application will take a few microseconds for Li Anping to approve. This process is equivalent to turning all Earthlings into capable people, as long as they are on Earth. Of course, this is just a foundation. Li Anping's greater goal is to make every Earthling strong in mind and body. Everyone can call upon computing power and nano-worms, and can also read the various magic and martial arts secrets stored by Li Anping on the Xianwang. Li Anping even put the first stage of electromagnetic drive on it, but he didn't think anyone could practice it successfully. After all, the borrowed computing power is just borrowed. Once you leave the Earth, you can no longer borrow it. Even if you can practice electromagnetic drive on the Earth, you will have nothing after leaving the Earth. So the biggest help for the people on Earth from these functions opened by Xianwang is self-cultivation. It turns every person on Earth into a genius among geniuses. As long as you work hard enough, you will definitely become a strong person. Of course, reading various materials also requires various permissions and electronic currency. And if you want to get more electronic currency and permissions, you need to make greater contributions and take greater responsibilities for mankind. For example, joining the army, joining the Royal Academy of Sciences, and taking space adventures and white earth adventures to collect various materials. In short, the greater the contribution to mankind, the more electronic currency and permissions you can get. Electronic currency can be traded with each other, but permissions cannot. At the same time, from this day on, all humans connected by Xianwang have also been subtly influenced by Li Anping. Just like the doctor influenced Xia Yunyun's judgment through various external information. The spiritual and emotional stimulation of Xianwang slowly makes every person on Earth more positive than before. More intelligent and more rational. Low-level, meaningless quarrels, abuses, and various conflicts began to decrease on the internet. It seemed that the quality of all people was slowly improving, and they focused their attention on the Xian network. In addition to various cultivation functions, Li Anping also opened up a lot of information about the multiverse and the White Earth. He encouraged all Earthlings to apply to him to leave the Earth and conquer the New World after they had powerful power and equipment. But it is obvious that such a thing is still very far away for the current human beings. The current Earthlings have just taken the first step. Immediately after the Xian network was further opened, the entire Earth government structure adjustment was made. Most of the government personnel, especially the government personnel at the front desk who can be replaced by machines, will all be replaced by machines. In name, it will be through electronic office, replacing all repetitive labor with machines and the internet. But in fact, all machines and networks are equivalent to a part of Li Anping. He has replaced all government personnel by himself and accurately planned the work of the entire Earth government. Now the senior officials who are still working in the government can only help Li Anping improve some details like Wang Chong. Check for omissions and fill in the gaps. Now, like most people, they put more energy into Xianwang and various cultivation and research. Next, Li Anping gradually opened up the personality exchange function of Xianwang, the goal exchange function, and even the function that allows people to freely change their preferences. There were all kinds of opposition and demonstrations that broke out. Naturally, there is no need to talk about him. From the beginning to the end, there was the Earth that Li Anping personally suppressed, even if he did nothing. The voice of resistance will only gradually weaken as time goes by. As more and more people modify their personalities and hobbies and turn themselves into the kind of people they want to be, fewer and fewer people oppose the Xianwang function. Some diehards of Xianwang also put forward an idea that humans in this society must be stimulated by various information, such as reading, watching movies, and talking. Such behavior will definitely change their inner thoughts and personalities. There are also factors like family, school, and colleagues that will change human personality and preferences. The Xianwang just accelerated this process and gave humans the right to choose, allowing everyone to be the person they want to be and do what they want to do, instead of being passively affected by the environment and oppressed by society, and having to be another self. Of course, Li Anping only provided the exchange of compound social moral standards. There are still many people who like to kill, do evil, and bully their own people. They can't get the exchange they want. However, these people don't talk about human rights with others, so Li Anping will naturally not talk about human rights with them. He just transformed them all. Among them, those who just thought about it directly changed their thoughts, and those who had already done it and were stopped by Li Anping naturally became air molecules. In a month, all kinds of nano-worms and computing power can be called, and all people on the earth have become capable people, but most of them are practicing magic and secret martial arts. 2 months later, that is, in the third month, the space gate arranged by Li Anping personally covered all the planets in the solar system, and humans completely occupied the solar system. At the same time, 100 Martian cities rose from the ground, and humans began to transform the Martian atmosphere, create ocean confluence, make Mars suitable for human survival, and expand strategic depth. When it was the 4th month, the boundary gate of the White Land was surrounded by countless war fortresses. The area within a radius of 10,000 kilometers has been covered by alloy armor that is more than 200 meters high and 50 meters deep. The fully automatic fire control system on the top of the armor, coupled with the robot troops and human warriors wearing interstellar armor, keeps all kinds of native creatures of the White Earth out. Until today, there are only 7 days left before the arrival of the evil god warriors, which is the 5th month. To be continued, please search Ocean Literature. The novels are better and updated faster. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Man at the top of the food chain. Author, Xiang Go. Chapter 449. On the White Earth, Li Anping looked at the endless white land and communicated with Bai Xing. I have activated those things. With them, there should be no crisis on Earth. Bai Xing asked, if you encounter danger. Quantum communication uses the principle of non-locality of entangled states. Through the particle states prepared by me on Earth, you should be able to contact me at any time. Li Anping said calmly, if you can't contact me, you can decide how to use the things I arranged according to your own judgment. Understood? Okay, I'm leaving. After saying this, Li Anping turned into a beam of light and flew towards the number 1 boundary gate, which is the north of the boundary gate leading to the solar system. According to the map given by the Chaos Tide, the entire White Earth is vast and boundless, and it is growing every moment. The location of the number 1 boundary gate is located in the southernmost position of the current White Earth. As the earliest native race in the White Earth, the main territory of the Evil God clan is naturally in the center of the White Earth. It was unknown how far it was from the southernmost number 1 crossing gate. They traveled long distances using something called the Red River. But even so, it took a long time to reach the number 1 crossing gate from the territory of the evil gods, and one of the places they had to pass through was Li Anping's current destination, an evil god's stronghold. As the edge of the White Land, this place had never been noticed by various high-level demons, and the evil gods only sent some lower-level demons who were not from the evil gods to manage the stronghold here. If Seagram had not been too weak among the princes, he would not have been driven here. A few hours later, a fortress built of white earth and stone appeared in front of Li Anping. Before he got close, a stench had already swept over. Flying over the top of the fortress, Li Anping looked at his feet, and the entire fortress looked like countless garbage dumps. Hundreds of strange creatures were piled together without any rules, and they stayed in the fortress, looking at Li Anping, who had flown into the sky with surprise. It's a human. It must have escaped from the gate. Catch him. The next second, dozens of monsters that looked like bats flapped their wings and rushed into the sky. Seeing their bloodthirsty and excited appearance, Li Anping just glanced at them coldly. The next moment, these demons had exploded into blood flowers in the sky, and a blood rain was sprinkled on the ground. All of a sudden, all the demons in the whole fortress were alarmed. Some of them rushed up with a roar, some retreated cautiously, and some carefully observed Li Anping in the sky, wondering what they were thinking. These demons had no concept of army and discipline at all. Apart from the terrifying power, these demons under their feet were no different from gangsters. As more and more blood flowers exploded in the sky, no demon could get within 100 meters of Li Anping. The remaining demons saw this situation. All of them stopped sprinting, but ran away in all directions, and their fighting will was worse than Li Anping imagined. Seeing this situation, Li Anping was also a little strange. Although the lower-level demons at the edge of this white paper land should be the cannon fodder soldiers of the entire evil god clan, they are also too weak, with an average of only about the 4th energy level. There is not even a 5th energy level. A few minutes later, Li Anping finally knew what was going on. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and felt the information in the other party's brain. He murmured, "Have you discovered a new cross-world gate?" "Yes, yes," a demon who looked like a stone said tremblingly. Looking at the more than 10 headless corpses under Li Anping's feet, he was even more scared. He just saw with his own eyes that this human in front of him bit off the heads of more than a dozen demons like eating snacks. Li Anping nodded. According to the memory he read, the demons here recently discovered a new cross-world gate and discovered the existence of humans there. So the person in charge of this fortress, who is also the strongest, the 5th-level demon Zidingsi, has led more than 1,000 of the most elite demons to the newly discovered cross-world gate. This is also their job here. Just like the Earth before, the demons in the base here will constantly send 2 or 3 demons in a group to search for the gates around the base. However, most of the gates are often connected to barren worlds where life cannot exist. Once a rich, civilized, or even human world is discovered, sightings will lead a large army to enjoy it, or destroy it. When Seagram forcibly occupied the gate of the Earth and disappeared later, he did not mean to gloat over it. Of course, he would not rush to a world where Seagram never returned. He just reported the situation and waited quietly for the upper warriors of the evil gods to investigate the matter. However, his men have been looking for new gates during this period, and they found another human world, which made him very happy. And it's not just him. The level 8 evil god warrior who arrived here today also rushed over after knowing that Sightings had discovered a new human world, saying that he wanted to have a good time there before looking for Seagram. Obviously, for him, enjoying himself in that world is much more important than investigating the disappearance of Seagram. After all, devouring humans is the nature of almost all demons, and a world where they can eat humans is very rare. As for those left in the fortress, they are naturally some old and weak soldiers who are not qualified to follow. Knowing these situations, Li Anping has also seen the chaos and corruption of demons, or the evil gods. He looked at the trembling demons in front of him, stretched out his hand and pointed, and turned them all into dust that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye. At this moment, there were no more demons surviving in the entire fortress. Next, Li Anping walked directly to a huge blood pool. This blood pool in the center of the fortress is the so-called Red River. Through it, the evil gods can cross a long distance and quickly reach any base derived from the blood river. Looking at the blood pool under his feet, Li Anping slightly squeezed his palm towards the body of a demon. The demon, which was already dead, had hurriedly stood up, shaking his head, as if adapting to his own corpse. With Li Anping's current strength, this kind of magic of reanimating corpses is completely at his fingertips. In addition, he can compile consciousness algorithms. Such resurrected corpses are far beyond the so-called zombies. They are not only dominated by instincts, but also have the ability to talk and remember. It is just like resurrection. Li Anping ordered him, "Watch here. If anyone comes out, tell him that I attacked here. I went to find Zittings later." "Yes." Seeing the corpse nodded, Li Anping flashed and disappeared completely the next moment. He has left a particle state on the corpse. Because of the non-locality of quantum theory, the correlation between two particle states cannot be explained by classical information. So no matter how far away, he can know if there is a problem with this corpse. The cross-boundary gate this time is only about 180 million kilometers away from the fortress, which is much closer than the number 1 cross-boundary gate. Obviously, this is also the reason why the 8th level warrior gave priority to finding Zittings. 10 minutes later, the light of Li Anping's incarnation went into the cross-boundary gate. The gate is located on a wide road. When Li Anping crossed the gate, what appeared in front of him was a city like the end of the world. The high-rise buildings turned into large ruins, and the earth was broken and shattered. Hundreds of thousands of monsters roamed in the city, tearing every human who appeared in front of them into pieces. From time to time, some fighters and bombers passed over the city, but they were soon hit by various rays, flames, and even stones, and turned into huge fireballs and fell down. This is a human world that is somewhat similar to the Earth, and it has also entered the modern civilized society. But now, because of the invasion of demons, it has become a hell. As soon as Li Anping appeared outside the gate, he obviously attracted the attention of nearby demons. These demons were left to guard the gate. Li Anping's human appearance made more than a dozen demons pounce on him as soon as he appeared. These demons were still chewing the flesh in their hands, and some human broken arms and limbs were scattered all over the ground. When they rushed towards Li Anping could even clearly see the human fingers bitten in their mouths, the eyeballs in their hands, and the blood all over their bodies. He frowned, and a blue electric light turned into a light arc and shot out from his body. All the demons nearby were completely vaporized by the terrifying high temperature in an instant. In a cage made of reinforced concrete, several men covered in blood looked stupidly at the spotless Li Anping. It was hard to imagine that the invincible demon in their eyes was killed so easily. Li Anping took a look at the rough cage. It was obviously built by the demons guarding the gate. As for the reason for building it, it was really simple, nothing more than to keep the food fresh. Compared with the boredom of the corpse, listening to the screams of humans while tearing each other's bodies can make these demons more excited. The men in the cages looked blonde and blue-eyed, and they looked a bit different from the people in the Federation. When they saw Li Anping looking at them, they immediately started shouting and speaking a language that Li Anping had never heard of. However, after just a quick scan of their heads, Li Anping already knew everything about them. This is a planet that belongs to humans. The country under Li Anping's feet is called the United States, and the location of the gate is a place called Manhattan in this country. The entire planet has become a doomsday world under the invasion of demons. To be continued, please search for Ocean literature. The novels are better and updated faster. Man at the Top of the Food Chain. Author, Xianglang Guo. Chapter 450. After getting information about the Earth from several people, Li Anping spoke directly. As soon as he spoke, it was a language that the other party called English. It was obvious that he had easily learned this language through the process of scanning the other party's memory. Escape to the south. The next moment, the steel and concrete around them were scattered in all directions, and then they saw Li Anping wave his hand, and with a series of earth shaking, the blue portal had soared into the sky and flew into outer space. And Li Anping's whole body flashed and disappeared like a ray of light. United States, hexagon. There were only 2 people in the conference room. One of them was the US Secretary of Defense, Charlie Paulson. He looked at the man in front of him with a cynical expression and a devilish smile, and couldn't help but frown. The man has a pair of amber eyes, yellow skin, and black hair, but he reveals his identity as a mixed race. The door to the conference room was pushed open, and a beautiful secretary with blonde hair and big waves walked in carrying coffee. Charlie Paulson looked at the 2 people's eyebrows, and his secretary's eyes were bright and radiant. He secretly resented it and gritted his teeth and said, "Lieutenant General Jack, the President has made up his mind. 12 nuclear bombs are ready for deployment. Now the only question is, what are those bastards doing in New York City? We have to make sure they come out of Manhattan." The mixed-race man named Jack smiled and glanced at the blonde beauty with nostalgia. Until Charlie's face turned completely black in front of him, he reluctantly took his hands off the blonde secretary's beautiful buttocks and let the other party leave. He shook the coffee cup and said slowly, "Throw it away when you are ready. It has become a ghost town anyway, so it doesn't matter if you throw it away wrongly." Charlie punched the desk and said angrily, "This is going to drop a nuclear bomb on our own country, the United States. Do you know how much pressure the government will be under? Those bastards have been entrenched in New York for several months. But even today, there are at least more than 1 million survivors." Jack didn't seem to care about Charlie's tone at all, and said slowly, "Oh, can't the government find out what's going on in Manhattan now? God knows what it is. The whole of New York is covered by dark clouds. The satellites can't see anything. All the reconnaissance teams sent over the past few months have lost contact." Charlie stared at Jack closely. "Lieutenant General, I need your help. I need you to go to Manhattan in person and understand what's going on inside." Jack smiled, pointed at the blonde beauty outside the door and said, "Then let Milia come with me. Also, let those guys in Los Angeles get out, that is my territory, I don't want others pointing fingers." Charlie frowned, and finally breathed out and said, "Okay." Jack smiled, walked out of the conference room door, hugged the blonde beauty outside the door, and walked out without paying attention to her screams and struggles. Charlie snorted coldly, "It's best if all these monsters are dead. There are supermen in this world. And he is also an American. His name is Jack, from Kansas, USA. He is so powerful that he can move a locomotive. He is incredibly fast and can race cars. He is American Jack. American superhero." After the demons occupied Manhattan, except for some who stayed behind to guard the boundary gate, most of the others spread around the world, because every demon has its own abilities. They all have the additional ability to create human monsters. In just a few months, the entire world has turned into a doomsday-like world. But governments have not given up resistance. Especially with the emergence of demons, a large number of powerful people who usually hide themselves emerged one after another. These special people relied on the chaos brought by the demons to either occupy territories all over the world and become kings, or they got a piece of territory after joining the government. Because most governments have suffered heavy losses from the demons, they no longer have enough power to restrain these special people. They can only allow them to act recklessly, and in many cases they even have to rely on their strength to jointly fight the demons. An armored vehicle slowly stopped in the suburbs 50 kilometers away from New York City. The driver of the vehicle was a little nervous, but also a little excited as he watched Jack slowly get out of the armored car. He said, "I'm sorry, this is already the extreme distance. If we move forward, we will be attacked by those monsters." Jack shrugged nonchalantly and said, "It's okay, just send it here." He checked his equipment, and after making sure there was nothing wrong, he said calmly, "I'm leaving." Jack suddenly squatted down and then stepped on the ground. With a bang, a big pit opened up in the ground. He soared into the sky like a rocket and flew several kilometers away. Outside, and then hit the ground like a meteorite. Although rushing like a flea looks a bit unsightly and unfashionable, with Jack's brute force support, the actual speed is very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it is close to New York City. With a bang, the whole ground shook, and Jack slowly walked out of the small crater he made. Something's wrong. I jumped forward like this on purpose. Why didn't those demons attack me? He said to himself. Hey, can you feel their presence? I only heard a voice coming out of Jack's body. There is a problem, their breath is very weak, go to the city to see, they may have left. It's better that their boss doesn't stay in there, otherwise I'm afraid I'll get itchy and kill him. Jack is indeed confident. Since he got the help of a mysterious creature called Black, he has the ability to devour human flesh and soul. With this ability, he has become the most dazzling hero in the United States step by step. I still remember that Jack was just an introverted third-generation immigrant. Whether in school or in the community, he was bullied by others. He even had the experience of being stripped naked and tied on the playground. But everything changed that night. From a piece of jade he bought, Black appeared and gave him the ability to become stronger by devouring humans. That night he secretly killed the 3 men who stripped him and tied him to the audience seats in the playground. When he saw the man who had been bullying him kneeling down and begging for mercy, the refreshing feeling almost made him uncontrollable. It also made him understand the meaning of his life. In the following days, Jack hunted every night and killed people in the school during the day. He asked the cheerleader to be his girlfriend and beat the school team quarterback to the point that he could not take care of himself. But just when he was most high-spirited, the devil appeared. At first he complained, but he soon found that the appearance of the devil was the best opportunity for him. In this doomsday world, he could kill people without any worries. With super strength, speed, and regeneration ability, he quickly ruled most of Los Angeles in the end of the world, and even killed 3 level 4 demons that the Americans could not do anything with his Superman-like skills. So after paying countless money, resources, and beauties, the top leaders of the United States recruited Jack and made him a Superman of the United States and a world hero to boost morale and fight against demons. But it is obvious that for a monster like him, it is only in the end of the world that it is most beneficial. So after killing several level 4 demons and confirming his status as a Superman, he has been deliberately delaying the process of fighting against demons. He has not been very active in participating in the various military operations. According to Hay, the strongest demon this time is the 5th energy level. Although Jack is only at the 3rd energy level now, he is confident that he can kill the other party. Hay said, "Don't kill too many demons this time. Especially the 5th level demon. Once you humans win, you won't have so many opportunities to eat people. You must take advantage of this chaotic time to eat more people and accumulate enough power to reach the 4th energy level before you can rule the world without worries. Don't worry. I know what to do. But now the power gained by eating people is too small, and eating demons is useless." Jack scratched his head in annoyance. "Then make up for it with quantity," Hay said viciously. "There are more than 2 million people in the territory you rule. Eat them all, maybe you can reach the 4th energy level, and you will have the power to rule the world." Not so good. Jack was still a little hesitant about Hay's proposal. A few minutes later, Jack saw large areas of human monster corpses, mixed with fragments of several demons, when he walked into the city. So many monsters, who killed them? As he continued to move forward, more and more monster corpses appeared in front of him, all of which were pierced through the body by one blow. It was not until half an hour later that he was sure that all the monsters and demons in New York had been wiped out, and most of the survivors were unharmed. "Damn, who did this?" Jack said with a gloomy face. "Is it William, or Lin Dong? Or those guys from the Red Alliance? No, they shouldn't be so powerful. Forget it, just destroy it." Then a black shadow was seen rising into the sky. Jack used supersonic speed to directly cut through the atmosphere and cleared the dark clouds over New York City one by one. 2 hours later, the Pentagon received a report from Jack that all the monsters in New York City had been cleared by Jack, the American Superman, and all the soldiers cheered on the spot. United States, Chicago. In an underground base somewhere, a man with black hair and black eyes was staring at the screen tightly. His cold expression, wise eyes, and sharp cheeks all revealed his extraordinariness. As his hands kept tapping, various information about the United States and the demons appeared on the screen. "Afu, what happened just now?" An electronic voice came from the computer. "A high-energy reaction was just discovered in Manhattan, and then a 3.4 magnitude earthquake occurred." Then the information about the American Superman appeared on the screen. "The whole New York has been recaptured by the American Superman, and all the monsters in it have been eliminated." William narrowed his eyes, as if the information in front of him was somewhat unexpected. William's full name is William Xiao. He originally lived across the Pacific Ocean and was just an ordinary white-collar worker in the Red Country. Suddenly one day, an artificial intelligence from alien space entered William Xiao's computer. Then William Xiao came to the United States, relying on the countless black technologies possessed by alien artificial intelligence. He laid out the world, played supermodels, opened a company, bought yachts, drove sports cars, and became the behind-the-scenes king of the entire Earth. Things should have developed like this, but William only developed for more than 2 years before the demon appeared. In order to protect his own power and to get a share of the pie in this chaotic world, he had to step out from behind the scenes and arm himself with black technology that surpassed the times to fight against the devil. He changed from a famous playboy and technological genius in the United States to the king of Chicago and the hero of the Americans. In the end, like the American Superman Jack, he got a job in the Pentagon. And Afu, who just spoke, is naturally the alien artificial intelligence in the computer. At this moment, the computer sounded a shrill alarm, and Afu shouted urgently, "Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin have all experienced earthquakes of magnitude 7 or above." "Damn, what's going on?" Before he finished speaking, the black armor around him flew over and automatically loaded on William's body. The next moment he jumped onto a small fighter plane in the base, soared into the sky, and flew towards the 3 northernmost states of the United States. To be continued, please search PI Ocean Literature. The novels are better and updated faster.